It's time for Rich Kaplan and the Aviation Report, and I just got to say this. Last time I was up in Boston with my mom, I noticed a front page story that really touched my heart. It was an inspirational story, and I said, this is a perfect story for Rich Kaplan. It was about an 89-year-old pilot who lost his life doing what he loved, flying a plane. But this gentleman was flying airplanes for an incredible 76 years. Started flying when he was 13. And Rich is going to talk about this, his amazing career, his legacy, the fact that he wasn't instrument trained. And Rich, when you read about this man, I know that you were truly inspired. So let's learn a little more about this great man and this great story that we read about in the Boston Globe.
Absolutely, Howie, absolutely. Norman Baker was 89 years old when he crashed his 1966 Cessna in the Berkshires. What's amazing about Norman is that he is not an instrument pilot. He navigates off the stars, celestial navigation. My father, God rest his soul, was a navigator and a bombardier in World War II. He taught celestial navigation. To navigate off the stars is not easy. You have to orient yourself with Polaris, the North Star, and from there, triangulate your location. He was an amazing, amazing man, not just for this, but also the fact he climbed the Matterhorn, he built a boat and sailed across the Pacific. I mean, he was just an amazing, amazing adventurer. And to die doing what you love, I think, is the greatest way to go there is. I can't think of a better, more deserving way to go. But what's sad is, though, what happened to the aircraft. I've had an opportunity to look at the paper, and on page 5, they show the wreckage. In a second, I'm going to have my videographer pan into it, and you can see it right here. If you look at the angle that the aircraft is in, you can tell that he slammed with a pretty high rate of speed. My gut feeling is that this was engine failure or mechanical. I don't believe this was pilot error at all. He's done this flight numerous times, which is important to note. The fact that he knew exactly where he was. He's flown this route from Pittsfield, Massachusetts to Vermont numerous times. So you become acclimated with the route. It's kind of like, best way to describe it is, if you are an airline pilot and you fly a set route from New York to Miami, you orient yourself with certain landmarks. My gut feeling is that he probably did the same thing. He oriented himself with certain landmarks. He knew where Polaris was. He knew exactly what he was doing. And I don't believe for a minute that this is pilot error. I believe that this was mechanical. It was an old aircraft, a 1966 Cessna, I believe. And Cessnas are very unique airplanes. They're designed mainly with one purpose in mind, that is to train pilots. You learn on these airplanes. If I went to flight school, this is what I'd be learning on. I'd be learning on a Cessna 172 or a 182, or at minimum a 152. Now, of course, you have more sophisticated aircraft like the Cirrus and the Piper Warriors, which are instrument-type aircraft, and you learn what's called ILS flying, or Instrument Landing System, Instrument Approach. It's important to note that Norman was an experienced aviator. He started when he was 13 years old. I had an opportunity to read the story, and what fascinated me was that he won his flying lesson by building an airplane out of balsa wood, which I think is kind of remarkable when you think about it. And at age 13, to be flying all the adventures that this man could have told us about had he lived. I would have loved to have met him. I would have loved to have interviewed him just to know what it's like to still be flying at such an age, 89 years old. Most people that age are either in a nursing home or they're settling down for good, their last years. Norman lived his life with one purpose, and that is adventure. He loved adventure. He craved it. He lived on it. That was his adrenaline. And the thing that amazes me is that just 2 years earlier, he broke his neck jumping horses. Not many people can say this, that they jump horses at 87 years young and then told the doctor, well, give me an extra wire because I plan on jumping horses again. He didn't give up. He had a no holds barred spirit. Nothing could keep him down. And I believe very strongly and very passionately that the cause of this crash was most likely mechanical. I'll know more in the coming weeks, and I will follow up on this story as soon as I have more information and I have an NTSB report that I can read and I can break down for you, as I always do. But for now, Norman, God bless you and Godspeed.
Okay, great job, Rich Kaplan. And for the next episode, we're going to take the rest of the year off, and our next taping will be the second week in January as we let people celebrate Hanukkah and Christmas. But Rich, I got a great assignment for the next segment. You know, the other day I was reading the New York Times, and I looked at the top 100 companies in the S&P, and you know, companies like Facebook up 25%, Apple up 30%, all these companies. Yet I noticed one company by far up the most this year, up 87%. And that's the company I'm going to ask Rich to talk about, Boeing. Because I know Rich knows a lot about Boeing. So in our next episode, Rich Kaplan is going to tell you why Boeing is booming. Great job, Rich Kaplan.
Thank you.